Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Man, it's a time of year fishing is tough. And I always say, like, get out there early. Well, you can see we're not getting out there early because I'm just leaving the house. But with that said, I want to go fishing today. I want to try to make a Project E, a YouTube video. I got a few ideas how I can get a bite today. We're going to see if it's going to work. You guys stay tuned. This might be an interesting episode as we go out here and try to do some late summer fishing right here on Project E.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river, down to the river.
Gosh dang it. What the heck happened? There's one. That's a good one. Yes. Oh, yes. Look what I got, guys. Tell me they won't bite a spinnerbait. Yes. Thank you. All right. That's a nice one. It's an odd place to hook it on the old spinnerbait. August fishing, the very end of August, super shallow. Just one of those things that I can do to get a few bites. All right. Kind of got a late start this morning, but we're making the most of it. Thank you, girl. One of my favorite baits to throw year-round, but especially this time of the year, is a spinnerbait. I don't think a lot of people throw it. One thing I like about the spinnerbait this time of year, I feel like that fish was pretty high in the water column. And, you know, the bait had basically hit the water and bam, I had a bite, you know. A lot of times, a lot of people, you know, and myself included, you're gonna wanna flip these logs. But the problem is it goes right past them. And I think, you know, we talk about it all the time. Why is it so tough, you know, at the end of summer, early fall? So many fish suspended, whether it's out deep or shallow like that. But that fish, that log's in, 3 foot of water, 4 foot of water at the bottom of my trolling motor. And it was up high, like super high. So we know now where to keep that spinnerbait on these next logs that we're gonna fish. Gosh dang it. It's gotta be sand bass. Is it a sand bass? It's actual bass. He hit it like 2 or 3. Oh, buddy. Dadgummit. Oh, a little bit of fish landing violation. I don't know if there's a bunch there, if he hit it 2 or 3 times and just didn't get it. One reason I think a pattern like this is successful is, you know, like a pattern like this on a big shallow flat where that water is anywhere from 1 foot to 5 foot, 6 foot deep is, you know, you've got wind that's going to generate current across a shallow area. You got, you know, the natural current of the lake, and all those things, one, makes the water dirtier, and two, is going to increase the oxygen content. You know, I feel like, you know, the end of August, 1st September, like we have right here, the oxygen gets the lowest that it'll be all year if you guys study that any. And, you know, having just any kind of wind is going to make oxygen, make the water dirtier, thus allowing those fish to get up on these big flats like this and relate to these logs. Hey, a mistake I make a lot, especially when I'm tournament fishing, you know, and I'm zipping around, you know, trying to fish as many logs as I possibly can, or maybe I'm running between boat docks. The mistake I make is like my boat's going forward as I make that first cast to that log, then you get the bite and it's like the two are meeting and you set the hook and there's nothing there. So I really work on consciously telling myself to get my boat in position, slow down, then make the cast. You know, that way if I get a bite, I'll get a good hook set in it, you know, because if I'm going right towards where I just casted, and I get that bite as I'm reeling that bait in, you know, there's no way I can set the hook. So remember, put your boat in position. I see it so many times in team tournaments, you know, everybody's kind of like, you know, fighting over making that first cast. And the one guy that go ahead and makes that cast as the boat's going towards the piece of cover, and then he gets a bite, you just cannot set the hook. So get your boat in position, let it go ahead and settle, put your power poles down, whatever it may be, and then make the cast on that cover so you can make a good hook set. So I've run up this river, and man, we had that one bite on that flat, and then the wind just completely left me, It's just slick. The only ripples you see out here is from a boat that just run by. So, you know, I have no choice but to flip. You know, I'm gonna flip this tube, you know, up and down through here. I'd love to be throwing that spinnerbait. I just don't quite have the conditions. And this water up here is quite a bit clearer than that water that was on that flat, you know, where I caught that first fish earlier. Feels like a good, that old tree is shaking down there. Oh, come out of there, fish. That's a big one. That is a big one. Golly, I can see it. I can see it. Come on, baby. Stay on there. Stay on there, please. Stay on there. It's a big one, guys. It's a big one. I don't know how to get him off. Can y'all see him? I got him. Oh man. Oh man, I got problems. Oh, he swallowed that tube, didn't he? All right. Man, that's a chunky one. He whipped my ever-living tail down in that tree. Golly, look how tall he is. He's just so stinking tall. What a fish. All right, so now we've caught one. Heard that thing. He swallowed it. How about that, guys? Oh, my bait's still down around that tree. Let me get this out. Let me get this out. We're just gonna cut that. So I moved up. Man, I fished that whole flat and it was the only bite I had. So I moved up, you know, up the lake, more up in the river section, and I want to start pitching some laydowns, you know, just kind of the same pattern, but it just compresses everything for me, you know. I feel like up here, you know, this time of year, fish scatter and suspend and all that stuff. Well, by going up the river, it compresses it into a smaller playing field to where hopefully I can put my bait in front of a bass. And I hadn't been up here no time at all, and bam, we got that bite, and it was a good one. And he kicked my butt. You would think I wasn't paying attention, but I promise I was. I mean, he just got me. Strong fish. Let's retie this thing. I use an EWG style hook when I'm fishing a tube. And you know, a tube used to be a bait that I would fish all the time back in the day. And you know, then came along all these newer baits, you know, the beaver style baits and all that stuff, and I just got away from it. And you know, I've just kind of made it a conscious effort over the last couple years to start throwing that tube again. And you know, I just think it gets a lot of bites, especially when the bite's tough. And one of the reasons I think it gets bites, if you ever watch a tube go in the water, it's kind of got like, we talk a lot about on the channel about secondary reactions to baits, you know, that when a bait can do something that I don't have to make it do. When that tube goes in the water, when it hits the bottom, it releases an air bubble out of it. And I think at times that may be what triggers, you know, to get that bite. I don't know, the tube's just a special bait. I've caught a lot of fish on it. I've lost a lot of fish on it, but I've caught a lot of fish on it. Let's do that again, that's fun. So when I approach a laydown, the things that go through my head, you know, initially is you know, what direction's the current coming? That's gonna tell me what direction the fish are gonna be facing. You know, is the current, you know, current from generation, or is it current from wind? So I'm always gonna want to approach it from the down current side, because that way when I present my bait, it's falling, I feel like those fish will be looking up. I think that's really an important thing when you go to think about a laydown. The other thing that I think about when I'm approaching a laydown is, yes, I wanna make casts right in the heart of it at some point. But you know, like right now today, the conditions I have, you know, slick, calm conditions, spinnerbait's probably not gonna be the best deal to throw down that outside edge, though I'd really like to do it if I had a little wind. But now when I go to flip it, I'm still gonna kind of flip the outside edge. You know, you could probably pick 4 or 5 really key areas looking at this, you know, those are gonna be my first 4 or 5, and then I wanna go inside. I don't wanna go inside immediately, you know, or your first cast ever in a laydown like this, just for the fact, in case you get snagged up. You don't want to mess it up and run all those fish out. But those are a few of the things that I think about. I'm going to be looking for shade. I always like to look where the biggest wood goes down and right where it touches the bottom. You know, this is a steeper bank here, but you know, earlier when we're fishing that flat, you know, and you've got a big log coming down, I always like to hit where that thing, you know, even if it's a slick log, I want to hit where that thing hits the bottom. That's an important thing to remember, because those fish can get right underneath that. Like they feel super protected because the log's here, the bottom's here, and they can fit perfectly right underneath that log. You know, here this might not be the case because the bank drops so steeply. Here is going to be more of a deal of cover and shade, and you know, this looks really good here. This first little piece, you know, a fish could get in there and be protected and hide and ambush. You know, there's a couple more up through there. So it's kind of the way I think about it when I'm breaking it down. So that's going to be my first pitch right there. My boat's under control. I'm not flying down the bank, you know, going to get up on it really quick. My trolling motor's down low. And I'm just going to start picking this thing apart, deep to shallow. That's not how to do it. Golly, that was a big one. Man, he was just sitting there holding it, and I was sitting there playing tug of war. I didn't know if he had it. It's a prime example, though. He was out on the very end of it, like the very, very end of it. You know, a lot of times I see people, you know, they just fish, especially in dirtier water where you can't see the end. Always think about where the ends of those logs are. You know, this one's kind of easy because I got leaves on it, but when you got a big old long slick log, always think about the very end of it. I'd like to have had that fish. We got to get another bait out. Dad. One thing about my flipping setup that you've got to be careful with if you do this, if you've got the same setup, you know, I've got this tungsten weight and then I put this little clacker in there. Well, you've got to retie pretty often because with that sliding up and down, it's really hard on that last little bit of line right there. So just always check, you know, even it's just a spot right there that'll get frayed. Always be sure you check that. When I go to flip a bait in there like that spot where I just had that bite, you know, by me sitting there and kind of bouncing it up and down, that allows that weight to hit that clacker, you know, and just make enough noise there to get something's attention. It gets me a lot of bites when I do that. That was a prime example. Gosh dang biggin'. I seen that one. They're suspended. Shoot, I've messed it up. Gosh dang it. I got 3 bites out of that one tree and I didn't land any of them. Dadgummit. Come out of there, fish, come on. God, that fish was down deep. Come on, buddy. I've lost so many today, I want to put my hands on you. Come here. Oh, he is around that right there. Maybe I can get him out. I did. All right. Man, we may not catch a bunch of them today, but we're catching good ones. Each bite's been different. You know, I've had a bite out of a green bush. I've had a bite out of dead laydown. Now, this is kind of an in-between one and out deep. Thanks, buddy. It's one thing about laydown fishing. I feel like when you get a bite, like I know today's kind of been a little bit different, but you know, the root wad, the end, the middle, I just feel like when you get a bite, you know, try to duplicate that as many times as you possibly can. I think that's important, and that is too. You know, I did lose all those fish out of that one tree, and it was out deeper, and that fish was definitely out deeper. So maybe there is something to the outside of these laydowns. I'm ready. You know, so analyzing that bite, I just got retied, got everything. You know, current would be coming this way. So out of everything, I fished all the way around this tree, and that fish was on the key piece looking upstream. So when I fish a laydown, I try to think about everything, like the bank, you know, how deep it is over it, how deep the shallow end, like just analyze everything you possibly can. I don't know why I'm saying that, but that fish was definitely on the upstream side. So something else that we're gonna try to look at today as we move on, trying to establish, talking about fishing laydowns. I think one mistake people make, you know, when choosing the weight to flip laydowns, they choose too light a weight. You know, especially this time of year, we talk a lot about speed and getting a fish to react, but not only for those reasons, but just to be accurate and to be efficient. If I get one less bite at the end of the day because I got a bigger weight, well, I can assure you, having that bigger weight, I am going to be much more efficient, much more accurate, make many more casts right where I want it to be by having a heavier weight. So if you're sitting there tossing between a 1/4 ounce, a 5/16, a 3/8, a half, you know, whatever the two is you're tossing between, always go with the heavier one. It will get you more bites in the end of the day. You know, one mistake that I've got to watch myself from making, and that maybe I could pass on to you when fishing laydowns, is not to get too close. And this is a prime example. You can see that's a fairly small limb right here. Here's the end of it right here. Well, then you got to think those next two, and then that one back there, those are a lot bigger, going to be a lot longer limbs. The end of those limbs are going to be all the way out here. So, you know, you'll see me today a lot throwing a spinnerbait around it first and then going in and flipping it. But I guess my point is, be sure you fish this outer perimeter. Don't get right up on it right off the bat. You know, it's just you can catch a lot of fish that don't get fished for out here on these outer perimeters. There's a lot more stuff than what you can just see. That's a good one. That's a good one. That is why I throw that spinnerbait. Man, that fish was up high. I'm sitting out here in 12 feet of water, and I brought that spinnerbait right over it. Yes, 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 yes. I love it, I love it. Come here, girl. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Look at that one, that's a chunk. And that's one thing I love about this spinnerbait. I don't have to put a trailer hook on it. It's got such a long hook in it. You know, it gets those fish like that right there, but yet I bring it through that cover really well. Made my day, made my day. Oh, that didn't make my day. I hit my trolling motor, so excited. Just goes to show, those fish are suspended. You know, I kind of thought that on those ones that I missed back there. You know, they're up pretty high because that was deep. They're just sitting up high. I would say 3 feet underneath the surface. I brought that spinnerbait up over that tree, and he hit it right at the top. I bet we could waylay him if we didn't have to go on this spinnerbait. Who says you can't catch fish in August, the end of August, on a spinnerbait? I've never said that, but maybe nobody ever has. I always have spinnerbait tied on, though. I live in Oklahoma. You have to have a spinnerbait tied on. You know, we all learn, you know, obviously you're probably watching YouTube to learn. I back when I was a kid, I learned you know, watching TV. And one thing that I learned off George Cochran that is 100% a fact that you have to remember from today's video that he taught me back in the 90s. When you see a log that's a really good log, cast, 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 cast. 10, 12, 15 casts, maybe the exact same cast, but this time of year especially, I have caught bass on my 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th cast, making the same cast on a log. It's just those fish get so conditioned to somebody pulling up, making 1 or 2 casts, and then moving on. And if you really think about it, it's kind of like somebody just sitting there poking you, just poking you, just poking you, and just poking you. You can take it for a while. At least I can take it for a little while. And then eventually you got to poke back. And it's the same way with that bass. So don't forget, you know, George Cochran won that classic back in, heck, I could be wrong, 91, 92, 93, doing that, just making repeated casts to laydowns. It still holds true to today. It's one of those things that I've done throughout my career, make lots and lots of casts, and eventually you'll make that fish mad enough to bite. Those are big shad too. Something's got to be pushing those up through there. How many casts across there did I make, guys? I just got done saying that. That's a Kentucky. But I made a lot of casts. Heck, I threw the spinnerbait across there 3, 4 times. I sat there and I talked to you guys. Then I threw the jaywalker across it. Then I caught that guy right there. I had made that cast I don't know, I'm gonna say I made 10 casts across there. Is it not amazing? Like, I'm just blown away. You know, in the last hour, we've got 4 bites or whatever it is, and it's because we got a little bit of ripple on the water, you know, and prior to that, you know, it's just all been slick and calm, and they weren't getting it good, and, you know, it just, when you get, and I've picked up the spinnerbait, and it's like bam, 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 bam. So pay attention to your conditions, you know, just the slightest little change is all it takes for, you know, to change up your day and make your day just, you know, from mediocre to really, really good. You know, so if I was watching this episode or watching somebody catch fish, you know, one thing that I think that's important that maybe some people overlook is, like, you know, I'm catching them on a spinnerbait. What is the water clarity? You know, and that's hard to describe. My stained water is different than your stained water. My muddy water is different than your muddy water. Man, I'm amazed at, you know, when I talk to my brother-in-law or I talk to somebody, like, you know, he catches them on something like, you know, what was the water clarity? And it may be way clearer, way dirtier than I ever, you know, think that I should be doing that. So that should give you confidence to try that spinnerbait this time of year, knowing that I've got 36 inches of clarity easily right now. All right, guys, man, I had to come back and I had, hold on a second. Oh, I thought I was gonna bite. All right, I had to come back and fish this tree. I lost 3 here earlier today. But man, I gotta quit early today. I got a football game to go to. Pretty excited, football season's here. But let me do my power stop breakdown, man. It's kind of exciting stuff here. I think it is. This is my brand new spinnerbait. We caught, I don't know, a good majority of them today on that. That's the compact version. That's a 1/2 ounce. You can see it's got all this weight back behind the head. It's got a really long shank hook. There's no need for a trailer hook on it. It says 1/2 ounce right there on the back of it. It's really cool. You can see how small the head is. I've kind of bent it. I hit it pretty hard on the trolling motor today after I was pretty excited. But just a tandem willow, 1/2 ounce compact. That's 20-pound Bass Pro fluorocarbon. I throw that on a 7-1 medium heavy Johnny Morse Platinum signature rod. I got my cushion on there, a 6/8-to-1, a little bit slower gear ratio reel. Chartreuse white and blue. That was the spinner bait of the day. The other bait that I caught some fish on is this bait right here. Just an old school Berkeley tube, 4.5-inch green pumpkin tube. Got the tails dyed, a little chartreuse. That's gonna be a 1/2 ounce weight, a little ticker right there, 25-pound fluorocarbon, Bass Pro fluorocarbon. That was kind of a key. The ones I caught on this thing, I got really snagged up in there. And I've just got that on a Berkeley, that new Fusion EWG. That's a 5/0 hook right there. Just rig that thing Texas style, super simple. A great effective bait, you know, especially I think when fish get a lot of pressure. It's something they hadn't seen in a while, just that old tube. But I've got that on 7/6 heavy action, same Johnny Morse Platinum series, high speed reel, got the cushion on the end of it. That is my setup for flipping. Now the other bait I've got out, and I don't want you guys to forget about, is that topwater. There's gonna be a day and a time coming you wanna throw that topwater over some of those laydowns. And you know, you guys know that setup, just a 7-1 medium action. Actually, that's a 6.9 medium action braid, fluorocarbon leader. I do have one other spinnerbait tied on for a little bit cleaner water. We had a little bit clearer water situations, and I think I caught a hybrid on it or caught something on it, but just a compact 3/8 ounce double willow for a little bit cleaner water. Same line, rod, reel, and everything. But that's my power stop breakdown, guys. Man, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Leave me a comment, hit that subscribe button. Those things help me out a bunch with the analytics of the channel. But you guys tune in next week. We'll be doing it all over again.